What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Nerdy Mark channel. I am Sid the Nerdy Mark, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Wednesday Night Wars between AEW's Dynamite and WWE's NXT. So really quick before we begin, let's read one of our answers for last week's question mark. Now the question I did ask is, who should dethrone Roderick Strong as North American Champion? I personally said that it should be Pete Dunne because it would make a lot of sense and it would be, a final middle finger to Roderick Strong. However, my buddy Tim Farley had another answer, and I actually don't mind this either, so let's just read it here. So Tim, in response to me saying Pete Dunne, said, Pete Dunne makes sense, but I'd rather see him in the main title picture. I don't disagree. I wouldn't mind seeing Cesaro go down to Orlando and swinging Strong. I like that. Cesaro is absolutely being underutilized on the main roster right now. I think him coming down to NXT and, being a part of that roster, NXT and even NXT UK, just being a part of that roster and doing what he does best, and that is, of course, showing off his technical prowess, would be amazing. But look forward to the end of this video where I will have a brand new question for the question mark. So, the Wednesday Night Wars are among us. AEW and NXT are finally going head to head because AEW right now be like... and NXT be like... So, I think it's safe to say, in the words of good old JR, the battle lines have been drawn. By God. I am just really excited that we get a lot more wrestling. That's literally what I think is the best. And obviously, at the end of the day, we wrestling fans are the real winners. So, with that being said, let's dive right into week 1 of the Wednesday Night Wars. This time, we'll start with AEW. So, we kick off the festivities. The first match on AEW television is Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara. And Cody Rhodes is accompanied by Brandy. The broadcasting team does consist of JR, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur. Good to see JR and Schiavone back together again after about 30-something years, I believe. And so it's really good to see them all, and all three of them were really good on commentary. I'm really enjoying it. JR's fantastic, Tony's great, as is Excalibur. So I really like this commentary team. Really good match here. I thought this was just amazing stuff. We had Sammy G pull off a lot of the lucha stuff that he has trained in, and a lot of his high speed maneuvers. So good on Sammy G for looking strong, as well as Cody. He looked really good. Matter of fact, Cody Rhodes is set to face off against Chris Jericho at Full Gear for the AEW World Championship, but he will relinquish his title contention should he lose to Sammy G. Brandy at one point gets involved. She kind of gets involved with Sammy. Well, not like that, but you get the point. We're not talking Bobby Lashley, Lana shenanigans here. Cody did try to go for a dive on the outside, but Sammy G did pull Brandy into the line of fire, and she takes the brunt of it. So, Brandy is a champ for taking that spot. However, this does not prove to be of advantage for Sammy G because the match ends when Sammy does go for a shooting star press or a Spanish fly, I believe. A super Spanish fly, actually. And misses wildly. Cody Rhodes gets the small package. 1, 2, 3. Cody wins. And we get Tony Schiavone trying to interview Cody Rhodes, but Sammy G interrupts. They share some tense words, shake hands, only for Cody to be ambushed by Le Champion, Chris Jericho. And this was a good ambush part as well. I actually really liked it. This actually even went on throughout the ad break, so that was crazy. This was nothing compared to what happened towards the end, but we'll get there when we get there. However, overall, great match. Great ambush by Chris Jericho. One of the ads, by the way, was for bubbly sparkling water, so you know.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Next up, we did have Brandon Cutler taking on Mr. Salt of the Earth himself. He's better than you and you know it, MJF. MJF cuts a promo on Washington, D.C., saying that we're all poor and fat and live under a rock, and that Brandon Cutler should be on the other side of the guardrail, and he's more of a wrestling fan than an actual wrestler. Makes fun of him for playing D&D a little bit more, and then gets in the ring, and they have a pretty short match. Most of this was MJF throughout. Brandon did get some hope spots in, especially when he did the suicide dive and just punched the living hell out of MJF. But, however, Brandon Cutler did tweak his knee as he was trying to go for a top rope maneuver. I hope he's okay. But MJF did take advantage of it, being the sly, conniving heel that he is. He puts Brandon Cutler in the Salt of the Earth armbar and makes Brandon tap out. So MJF wins his first match on AEW television. Next up, we do finally get the match that we were supposed to get at Double or Nothing, but we're getting it now. We have the Hangman Adam Page taking on the Bastard Pac. What a great match this was. I think it was absolutely worth the wait. We wanted to get it at Double or Nothing. We were supposed to, but it didn't happen because of, they say, politics. But, you know, obviously, Pac was Dragon Gate champion at the time, so he didn't want to fight and take a loss while he was champion, which makes sense. I can kind of agree and see, where he's coming from there. But either way, I thought this was really good. I thought this was a fantastic match overall. I would say this was my sleeper hit of the night. So yeah, I mean, this was just great stuff. You know, we had Pac doing all the trash talk in the world. Hangman Page trying to be the resilient babyface here. He was pretty dominant for a good amount of the match, as was Pac. So I think it was pretty evenly matched. You know, he hit a couple of buckshot lariats, Page did, but, you know, that was to no avail. He tried to go for the Deadeye a couple of times, but Pac did escape. However, finally the referee was blindsided, and Pac did hit Adam Page with a low blow. Then finally a Black Arrow and Brutalizer combination for Adam Page to finally fade and for Pac to win this match. Absolutely fantastic stuff here. Hopefully they do build Adam Page back up, because he's kind of already at the bottom of the line now. Funny. You know, it was crazy seeing him in title contention against Chris Jericho, and now he's kind of all the way at the back of the line. You know what I mean? So, because wins and losses do matter in AEW. So, and they do actually have their win-loss records next to their title cards. Every wrestler does, so that's pretty cool. Pac remains undefeated in AEW. Who will break Pac's undefeated streak? Pac's undefeated streak obviously is still in its infancy, so I don't really want to see anyone break it just yet. However, I do hope they build up Adam Page, and have him have a story of redemption going forward, and then he finally does get the big one and win the AEW World Championship from whoever the champion may be. But fantastic match, as I mentioned, but let's move on. Up next, it was Nyla Rose taking on Riho to crown the first ever AEW Women's Champion. So this was a good match. I really did like it. A classic David and Goliath setup here. So, always good over there. Nyla Rose using her power moves, as well as Riho using her speed to counter. All good back and forth here. Both these women have some really good chemistry, so I liked it overall. However, I will say that Nyla needs to learn to bump a little bit more safely. There were some spots where it looked a little iffy. There was a point where Nyla Rose had Riho in a submission hold, and Riho was honestly about to tap out, like she was about to pass out, but Nyla Rose just let go of the hold. I'm like, why? Why did you do that? And then, on top of that, she also later on went outside and got a chair to beat Riho with it, and the referee stopped her because obviously, you're going to get disqualified if you do, and then she's arguing with the ref. I'm like, what are they doing with Nyla Rose? So that was kind of a weird thing there for me. We did finally get Nyla Rose taking the pin because Riho did hit 3 double knees to Nyla, kind of like a Kinshasa kind of a move, to win the match. And Riho is your first AEW Women's Champion. This was good stuff. I liked it. We did have Nyla try to get involved later on, but Kenny Omega stopped all that just before the main event. So good stuff there. Good to see that Kenny is very much behind Riho. And congratulations to Riho for being the first ever AEW Women's Champion. And finally, we have our main event. We have Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, the Elite, the Elite, taking on Le Champion, Chris Jericho, with two mystery partners. And those two mystery partners just happen to be Santana and Ortiz, formerly known as LAX in Impact Wrestling. This is my first time seeing Santana and Ortiz. Matter of fact, my buddy Tim does not stop marking out about them, and I can see why. I mean, these two are just amazing in the ring. I absolutely love it. This is all good stuff overall, just all out craziness here. Kenny Omega honestly did have the match kind of in his favor. It looked like they were going to win. Kenny Omega did go for his Terminator suicide dive that he does, but from the crowd into the ring, right behind Kenny as he was going for the move, was Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley has not been seen since Fyter Fest, especially after his injury on his elbow. Now he's back with a vengeance. Obviously, Kenny did have some scathing words for Jon Moxley for pulling out of All Out. This started a huge brawl between the two men that went all the way to the backstage. Kenny at one point even grabbed a mop and did the little sweeping motion with it, teasing his cleaner gimmick, which was awesome. Looks like we're going to get that in the near future. If you watch the Being the Elite series, you'll kind of see that the cleaner is going to be a reality in the near future. However, we did have Jon Moxley get the upper hand when he finally hit his paradigm shift / Death Rider. It looks more like the Death Rider because he did lift up Kenny for a minute, for a sec, and then boom, hit him onto a glass coffee table. So that looked absolutely gnarly. After this, it was mainly just the Young Bucks versus Jericho and Santana and Ortiz at that point. Bucks did whatever they could to hold the fort down while Kenny was out of commission, as was Moxley. Finally, though, the match ended with Chris Jericho hitting the Judas effect on, I think, Nick Jackson to win the match. Afterwards, we had LAX and Chris Jericho. I know they're not LAX anymore, but I'm just going to call them that for convenience sake. So Jericho and LAX beat up on the Young Bucks. Cody, who is now dressed up in a suit, comes out and starts to try to even out the odds. Out comes Sammy G, who low blows Cody and helps the heels beat up Cody and the Bucks. After that, we have Dustin Rhodes in full wrestling attire coming out to help even out the odds. And then we got debuting Jake Hager, formerly known as Jack Swagger in WWE, coming out to help out the heels. And, they just beat the hell out of everybody. And the final exclamation point is, of course, Chris Jericho giving the Judas effect to Cody Rhodes. And Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho, Santana, Ortiz, and Hager, all five of them are standing tall in the end. So it looks like we have our big heel faction in AEW led by Chris Jericho. So that should be awesome. But the heels do stand tall, and that's how we end AEW Dynamite. We kick off the festivities on NXT with a huge title match. We have Matt Riddle, bro, taking on Adam Cole, baby, for the NXT title. And what a match this was. I think this was a great way to kick it off, especially to combat AEW. I thought this was fantastic. Just 25 minutes of pure, unadulterated action with limited commercial breaks, of course. Adam Cole and, Riddle just don't miss a beat. They are both starting things off super, super hot. A lot of great counters here by both of these men. With Adam Cole coming with super kick after super kick, and Panama Sunrise after Panama Sunrise, and Ushigoroshi after Ushigoroshi. We had Matt Riddle coming in with V-Trigger after V-Trigger. Well, it's called the Final Flash knee strike, so I'll just call it the Final Flash. Final Flash after Final Flash. GTSs, Brotons, just everything. Both men just throwing the kitchen sink at each other. We even had Riddle getting Adam Cole in the bro mission, and Adam Cole Adam Cole escaping it, and then immediately he gets Adam Cole in the armbar, which he did previously use last week, and matter of fact, Cole is wearing a cast on his wrist, so there's that, but he kind of used it to his advantage, because the match ended with Adam Cole hitting Riddle across the face with the cast, and then firing, I guess, the last shot. No, hitting the Panama Sunrise, 2 Panama Sunrises, and finally a last shot to Matt Riddle to retain the NXT title. After the match, there is little time to celebrate because he is interrupted by the longest reigning NXT champion, Finn Balor. That's right, Finn Balor has not been seen on WWE programming since he lost to The Fiend at SummerSlam, and now he's back. He gets on the mic and he says, as of this moment, Finn Balor is NXT, and it looks like he's going to be challenging for the NXT Championship. We'll talk about this a little later. Up next, we do have the Velveteen Dream coming out on his newly bought couch, I guess, because, Roderick Strong set fire to the old one. He bought a new couch, and he has a bunch of beautiful women there. I believe this has happened to me once before, but then I woke up. So anyway, Dream basically talks about, the experience in Dream, and, basically turns the whole Full Sail Center into his purple, smoky, neon love room, and, he, talks to his girls, and talks about dreams and whatnot, and finally basically just challenges Roderick Strong to a rematch for the North American title. This should be interesting. However, like I said, I still want to see someone like Pete Dunne or even Cesaro, like my boy Tim said, challenge for the North American title. But I don't mind seeing Dream Strong Part 2 once again, maybe for War Games, so that would be pretty cool. But good promo throughout. Dream is fantastic on the mic. I don't need to say anything. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Next up, we do have the Joshi Judas Io Shirai. I see what you're doing, WWE, taking on Mia Yim in a mighty fine match. This is actually a much better match than I expected it to be. Io Shirai has some new gear, which looks fantastic. I love it. Io is honestly one of the best women that NXT has right now. I think a lot of people will agree with me. She's just amazingly talented. Whether she's a face or a heel, it doesn't matter. She can do both, and she's amazing. Yim looked a lot better in this match than she has in any of her other matches. This is the best she has ever looked. So kudos to Mia Yim. If she's been maybe putting extra time in the Performance Center, it's absolutely paying off here. So Yim did hit the code blue onto Io Shirai at one point, but Shirai did kick out. Shirai, of course, hit the Tiger Feint kick / 619. However, the match ended with Io Shirai hitting her patented moonsault for the 1-2-3. So Io Shirai does win this one. So I do hope that she is once again in title contention. I feel like Rhea Ripley is going to take the title off of Shayna Baszler, and then we're going to have Shirai take it off of Rhea. So that should be pretty cool. I'm excited to see where they go with Io Shirai. Up next, we do have Johnny Gargano taking on Shane Thorne in a pretty decent match. I didn't think it was amazing or anything. This is probably the weakest match of the night for NXT. So, that's there. Not saying that it was a bad match. I just thought it wasn't as compelling as some of the other matches. Especially after we had that amazing NXT title match, Anyway, I thought it was fine for what it was. We had Thorne, really taking it to Johnny Gargano, though. This match did come about when Gargano was explaining his future for the Black and Yellow brand, and he was interrupted by Thorne. And then Gargano did say that he's not going anywhere, and he is NXT for life, as, he drew the letters a la Bret Hart. So anyway, but the match finally ended with Johnny Gargano hitting the DIY super kick onto Shane Thorne to finally win. Nothing else to write home about here, but fine match for what it was. And we're not done with the Garganos as Candice LeRae takes on Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Champion. On the lead up to this, we had a promo package for Shayna and Candice. In that, we see a shot of Candice LeRae beating up Britt Baker. I wonder why, because Britt Baker, actually, I forgot to mention one thing on during the Rose versus Riho match. We did have Britt Baker on commentary. I forgot to mention. I apologize. That was my fault. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Again, WWE, NXT, I see what you guys are doing. You can't fool me. So, fine match here. I actually really like this one. Shayna Baszler up to her old tricks with the joint manipulation. Early on, we did have Baszler attacking the arm of Candice LeRae when she took her arm and put it inside of inside of the hole of the steel steps and did her, taking off her hairband and stomping your arm out. She did basically that thing with the steel steps, so Candice LeRae was unable to use her arm, but Candice did continue to bring it to Shayna Baszler for a good amount of this match, but to no avail because Candice LeRae was put in the Kirifuda clutch twice. Well, she did escape once, but then she got into it again. At least, Baszler got her in the clutch once again, and finally LeRae taps out. So we'll see. I do, again, like I said, I do think that Rhea Ripley is going to take the title off of Baszler, and then after that, it's going to be Io. At least that's what I would like to see. Maybe they have something different. Who knows? But either way, good match here. Really liked it. I wonder what's next for Candice LeRae, and I guess also what's next for Shayna Baszler. Next up, we have a showcase of British Strong Style as the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne takes on Danny Burch, and this was a great, hard-hitting match. Exactly what I wanted from a British Strong Style centric match. Great stuff here. Danny Burch absolutely shines well as a single star as well as a tag team with Oney Lorcan. So both these guys can do either singles stuff or tag team stuff. Obviously they both did start off as single stars, and then they were put together as a tag team. The match did end with Pete Dunne finally hitting the bitter end on the Governor, I believe that's his moniker, to win the match. But afterwards, the lights went out, and out came Damian Priest, who hit Pete Dunne with the Reckoning, and did his little firing the arrow thing, and shot his name on the Titantron and everything. So looks like this is his first program. I'm excited. Damian Priest and Pete Dunne. This should be a very interesting match. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. And finally, it is time for our main event. We have the Street Profits taking on Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era for the NXT Tag Championships. What can I say about this? I think if you watch the last two matches between these two teams, you know exactly what to expect, only that much better. So I thought it was great. I thought this was exactly what I wanted in a tag team match. I was just very excited to see this. A lot of good stuff here. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins doing their thing. They actually had Wale joining them in their entrance, and he kept on saying, "We want the smoke. We want the smoke. We want the smoke." So that was there. I was surprised. I really wish that Josiah Williams serenaded the Era to the ring. That would have been cool. But he already did it for Adam Cole, so that's fine. I understand. I'm gonna start taking notes from next week because I really want to have to talk about some spots too. The match, how it did end with Roderick Strong coming in, distracting the Profits, and of course Dawkins does give a huge spear to Roderick Strong to distract them, who do hit their double team maneuver, which I forget what it's called, but they do win the match and they retain. Adam Cole, Bebe, comes out once again. All four members are holding up their titles and saying, yeah, we still got the gold. But their celebration is cut short when a returning Tommaso Ciampa comes out. That's right. The Black Heart, the psycho killer of NXT, whatever, comes out, and he just looks at Goldie. He was staring at the NXT title, circling Adam Cole very slowly, all with his eyes fixated on Goldie herself or himself. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. I forget. We had Adam Cole kind of holding it a la Tommaso Ciampa, and Ciampa just kind of looked at it and stared a hole into Adam Cole's eyes, and that's how we end NXT. I'm smelling a triple threat between Cole, Balor, and Ciampa, and I do hope Ciampa gets the title. I am really excited. It's good to see Finn Balor back, and that's who on NXT, and it's good to see Ciampa back from his neck injury, so that is good stuff. But that is how we end out NXT. So overall, both were absolutely solid shows. I think AEW and NXT are absolutely going to give each other a run for their money. And it's just, like I said in the beginning, great time to be a wrestling fan. So while AEW focused a lot more on the wrestling and even the in-ring chaos that was going on, especially with the ending segment, NXT focused a little bit more on the progression of storylines going forward. For example, Roderick Strong and Velveteen Dream, and even setting up a program with Pete Dunne and Damien Martinez, yes, Damien Priest. So his name used to be Punishment Martinez. As far as matches of the night go from AEW, I am obviously going to really enjoyed Sammy G versus Cody. Adam Page versus Pac was, like I said, my sleeper hit of the night. The Elite versus Jericho and LAX. Amazing stuff, especially with the return of Jon Moxley and the debut of Jake Hager. Nyla Rose versus Riho was a good match as well. As far as NXT is concerned, absolutely Cole versus Riddle. Great stuff. Dunne versus Danny Burch was really good, as well as Shirai versus Yim. That was a great match too. And of course the main event, Street Profits versus Undisputed Era. So those were my matches of the night for both shows. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the question mark. So, recent reports stated that Cody Rhodes was interested in buying the copyrights of War Games and that whole match structure from NXT/WWE and whatnot. So, my question to you guys is a pretty simple one. Where would you rather see a War Games match? Would you rather see it on AEW or would you rather see it on NXT? Personally, I would like to see it on both. I do hope that if Cody's serious about this and he wants to use War Games on AEW, I hope he works out some sort of agreement with WWE where both parties can use it. Kind of like when Marvel and DC both are able to use the word superheroes in their comic books. Kind of like that. See? Another connection between the comic book world and the wrestling world. Anyway, and I actually don't care as long as one day we see a women's War Games match. That's exactly what I want to see. So whoever is going to give me that, I will watch that War Games match. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you had to pick, would you rather see it on NXT or would you rather see it on AEW? Leave your answers in the comment section below, and your response could be featured on next week's video. So, that pretty much wraps it up for this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Wars AEW versus NXT. Let me know what you guys thought about both shows in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media and tell your friends about the Nerdy Mark. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for your continued support. This is Sid signing off. You guys take care. Bye-bye.